Zoo worker befriends orphaned elephant, leaving the whole town speechless. Sarah Mitchell stood before her bathroom mirror, methodically braiding her dark hair into the practical style she'd worn for the past 8 years as a zookeeper at the Riverside Municipal Zoo in Minnesota. The clock read 5:15 a.m., early even by keeper standards, but Sarah had always been the first to arrive and the last to leave. At 32, she'd built a reputation as the zoo's most dedicated small mammal specialist, known for her intuitive understanding of animal behavior and unwavering commitment to their care. Her husband Mike shuffled into the bathroom, still half asleep. "You're heading in early again?" he asked, wrapping his arms around her waist. As a wildlife photographer, he understood her dedication better than most. They'd met when he was documenting the zoo's successful red panda breeding program 5 years ago. "Thompson's red panda cubs are starting to explore outside their nest box," Sarah explained, excitement lighting up her green eyes. "I want to observe their first morning ventures." Neither of them could have known that this ordinary December morning would change not only their lives but the entire trajectory of the Riverside Zoo and their small Minnesota town. The drive to work was peaceful, holiday lights still twinkling in the pre-dawn darkness. Sarah loved this time of day, when the world felt full of possibility. As she pulled into the staff parking lot, the temperature gauge on her dashboard read -15 degrees Fahrenheit. A brutal cold snap had gripped the region for the past week, keeping visitor numbers low but requiring extra vigilance from the animal care team. She just finished her initial rounds, documenting the red panda cub's adventures in her keeper log, when her supervisor Tom Davidson's hurried footsteps echoed through the corridor. 25 years as a keeper had left Tom with a slight limp from an old injury with a cantankerous camel, but today he moved with unusual speed. "Sarah, we need you at the elephant enclosure now." The urgency in his voice sent a chill through her that had nothing to do with the December cold. The elephant house was Marcus Williams' domain. He'd been the zoo's lead elephant keeper since before Sarah was born. If they needed her there, something had gone terribly wrong. As they hurried across the zoo grounds, Sarah's mind raced through everything she knew about the elephant program. The Riverside Zoo had 3 African elephants: Luna, the elderly matriarch rescued from a traveling circus 12 years ago, and 2 younger males, Jabari and Kibbo, who had arrived as adolescents from a wildlife sanctuary in South Africa. 6 months ago, Luna had surprised everyone by giving birth to a female calf, later named Hope. The pregnancy had gone undetected due to Luna's size and the circus's poor record-keeping about her history. The sight that greeted them at the elephant house would haunt Sarah for years to come. Luna lay motionless on her side, her magnificent form eerily still against the heated concrete floor. Marcus knelt beside her head, one hand resting on her trunk, his shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Dr. Emily Chun, the zoo's chief veterinarian, stood nearby, her face grave as she made notes on her tablet. But it was the sound that struck Sarah first, a high-pitched, keening whimper unlike anything she'd heard before. Behind Luna's body, partially hidden in the shadows, stood Hope. The baby elephant swayed back and forth, her small trunk reaching repeatedly toward her mother's lifeless form. "Heart failure," Dr. Chan said quietly as Sarah and Tom approached. "We've been monitoring some concerning symptoms, but..." She trailed off, shaking her head. "It happened quickly, at least. She didn't suffer." "The calf?" Tom asked, his voice rough with emotion. "That's why we called you, Sarah," he continued. "Marcus needs time. We need someone to stay with Hope, and you're our best option right now. You have the most experience with orphaned animals, even if they were smaller species." Sarah wanted to protest. Her experience with bereaved red pandas and otters hardly qualified her for this. But as she watched Hope's desperate attempts to rouse her mother, all objections died in her throat. "Of course," she said. "Whatever she needs." Marcus finally looked up, his face streaked with tears. "She likes classical music," he said hoarsely. "Brahms especially. There's a speaker system in the corner. And she has a blue ball. It's her favorite. You should keep it nearby." Sarah nodded, trying to project a confidence she didn't feel. As the team began the difficult process of preparing to move Luna's body, She focused entirely on Hope. The baby elephant was about as tall as Sarah's shoulder, though she would eventually grow to be over 8 feet tall. Her skin was still baby-soft, lacking the weathered texture of adult elephants. And her eyes, Sarah had never noticed before how expressive elephant eyes could be, were wide with confusion and fear. "Hey, sweet girl," Sarah said softly, keeping her distance but making sure Hope could see her clearly. "I know everything feels wrong right now, but I'm going to stay right here with you. Okay?" The next several hours were among the most challenging of Sarah's career. When the time came to remove Luna's body, Hope's distress reached heartbreaking levels. Her trumpeting cries echoed through the building, causing several staff members to leave, unable to bear the sound of such raw grief. Sarah stayed, maintaining a constant gentle stream of conversation and ensuring she remained in Hope's line of sight. As darkness fell outside, Sarah called Mike. "I won't be home tonight," she explained, watching Hope pace restlessly around the enclosure. "There's a baby elephant who needs me. Do you want me to bring you anything?" Mike asked, understanding immediately. "Changes of clothes? Food?" "Just some food and maybe my pillow," Sarah replied. "I don't think I'll be sleeping much, but—" She paused as Hope let out another mournful cry. "I can't leave her alone." Mike arrived an hour later with not just food and Sarah's pillow, but also her favorite blanket, a thermos of hot coffee, and her old guitar. "I thought maybe she'd like some music," he said. "Live music can be more soothing than recordings sometimes." Sarah hugged him tightly, overwhelmed by his thoughtfulness. After he left, she set up a small space for herself near Hope's night enclosure, close enough to maintain contact but far enough to give the elephant some space to process her grief. Around midnight, Sarah began playing the guitar softly, remembering Marcus's comment about Hope liking classical music. She wasn't trained in classical guitar, but she knew some simple melodies. To her surprise, Hope's restless pacing slowed as the music filled the space. Encouraged, Sarah began to sing an old lullaby her mother used to sing to her, one she'd sometimes used to calm anxious animals before. Hope turned toward her, ears slightly forward in what Sarah recognized as interest. Slowly, cautiously, the baby elephant moved closer. By the time the sun rose the next morning, Sarah had sung every gentle song she knew multiple times. Hope had finally fallen into an exhausted sleep around dawn, close enough to Sarah's position that she could feel the elephant's warm breath. Dr. Chun arrived early, looking concerned when she saw Sarah's disheveled appearance. "Did you sleep at all?" Sarah shook her head. "She just fell asleep an hour ago. I didn't want to move and risk waking her." The vet nodded approvingly. Elephant calves in the wild stay in nearly constant physical contact with their mothers for the first few years of life. The fact that she's chosen to stay close to you is a good sign. She paused, considering her next words carefully. "Sarah, we'd like you to temporarily transfer to the elephant department. Hope needs consistent care from someone she trusts, and you've already started building that bond." Sarah looked at the sleeping elephant, thinking about her beloved red pandas and other small mammals. But she already knew her answer. "Whatever she needs," she said again, realizing these words would become something of a mantra in the months ahead. The next few weeks passed in a blur of activity and learning. Sarah threw herself into elephant care with the same dedication she'd shown throughout her career. She studied elephant behavior and development, consulted with experts at other zoos, and spent countless hours simply being present with Hope. Marcus, though still deeply affected by Luna's death, proved an invaluable mentor. He shared decades of experience, teaching Sarah everything from proper foot care techniques to the complex body language of elephants. "They're like icebergs," he explained one day. Watching Hope investigate a new enrichment toy, most of their communication happens below the surface, in ways humans often miss. Sarah learned to read Hope's subtle signals. The way she curled her trunk when anxious, how her ears moved differently depending on her mood, the various vocalizations that could mean anything from hunger to playfulness to fear. She discovered that Hope was particularly intelligent, quickly learning basic commands and showing remarkable problem-solving abilities. The challenge was finding the right balance between providing the comfort Hope needed and avoiding creating an unhealthy dependency. Elephants are highly social animals, and while Hope needed a surrogate mother figure, she also needed to develop appropriate elephant behaviors. As weeks turned into months, Hope began to show signs of recovery from her initial trauma. She started eating regularly again, played with her enrichment toys, and even showed interest in the zoo's 2 male elephants, though direct contact wasn't yet possible for safety reasons. Sarah's days fell into a new routine. She arrived at dawn, often finding Hope waiting eagerly for her at the indoor enclosure door. They would start with a thorough health check, followed by breakfast. Hope had definite preferences, loving sweet potatoes but turning her trunk up at carrots. The morning would be filled with training sessions, exercise, and enrichment activities. One particularly memorable morning, Sarah introduced Hope to painting. It was a common enrichment activity for elephants, helping develop trunk control while providing mental stimulation. Hope took to it immediately, showing an unexpected artistic flair that would later become one of her trademark behaviors. But not everything went smoothly. Hope suffered from nightmares, waking in the night with terrified trumpeting that brought Sarah running from the keeper night quarters. There were days when the young elephant refused to participate in activities, standing in corners and making low rumbling sounds that broke Sarah's heart. The local media picked up the story about 6 months after Luna's death. The Riverside Gazette ran a front-page article titled, "The Elephant's Guardian Angel," featuring photos of Sarah and Hope during their daily routines. Other outlets followed, drawn by the universal appeal of their unlikely bond. Social media exploded when someone posted a video of Sarah singing to Hope during one of the elephant's anxiety episodes. The clip showed the keeper sitting cross-legged near the enclosure, softly playing guitar while Hope gradually calmed, eventually reaching out with her trunk to touch the strings. The attention brought both support and criticism. Animal rights activists questioned whether Hope should remain in captivity, arguing for her transfer to an elephant sanctuary. Others criticized the zoo for allowing such close contact between a keeper and an elephant, citing safety concerns. Dr. Chan and the zoo administration stood firmly behind Sarah's methods, using the publicity to educate the public about modern zoo practices and the importance of emotional well-being in animal care. They implemented new protocols based on Sarah's success with Hope, emphasizing the importance of considering animals' psychological needs alongside their physical care. Mike, who had been documenting Hope's journey through his camera lens, created a photo exhibition titled Hope's Story that traveled to galleries across the country. The images captured intimate moments between keeper and elephant. Sarah reading books during night shifts, Hope learning to shower herself with the hose, their first successful painting session together. As Hope grew, so did her needs. Sarah worked with the zoo's engineering team to design new enrichment equipment that would grow with the elephant. They created puzzle feeders that could be adjusted as Hope's trunk strength and dexterity improved, and modified her pool area to encourage more complex play behaviors. The zoo also began planning for Hope's future. African elephants are matriarchal society animals, and while Sarah provided emotional support, Hope needed elephant companionship to develop properly. The solution came in an unexpected way. A year after Luna's death, the zoo received word about another orphaned elephant calf, this one rescued from a drought-stricken region in Africa. After much discussion and preparation, 3-year-old Zuri arrived at Riverside Zoo. Hope's reaction to the newcomer amazed everyone. Despite being younger, she immediately took on a protective role with Zuri, showing her around the enclosure and demonstrating how to use the various enrichment devices. It was as if she instinctively knew what another orphaned elephant would need. "She learned it from you?" Marcus told Sarah as they watched the 2 young elephants play together. "All that patience and love you showed her, she's passing it on." The story of Hope and Sarah had a profound effect on the small Minnesota town. Local schools developed education programs around elephant conservation, and children regularly sent letters and drawings to Hope. The town's annual festival was renamed the Hope and Heritage Festival, featuring elephant-themed activities and conservation awareness events. Local artists embraced the story as well. A prominent muralist created a 3-story painting downtown depicting Hope's journey from orphaned calf to thriving young elephant. The public library started a children's reading program called books and trunks, where kids could read stories to a life-sized Hope sculpture. The business community got involved too. The local coffee shop created a Hope's Hot Chocolate, with proceeds going to elephant conservation. The craft brewery released a small batch beer called Keeper's Watch, donating a portion of sales to the zoo's elephant program. But perhaps the most significant impact was on people's attitudes toward wildlife conservation. The town council passed stricter exotic pet regulations, and community involvement in environmental causes increased dramatically. Hope's story had put a personal face on the broader issues of wildlife protection and animal welfare. 5 years after Luna's death, the Riverside Zoo had become a leader in elephant care, with zoos from around the country sending staff to learn from their program. Hope had grown into a healthy young elephant, standing nearly 8 feet tall and weighing over 4,000 pounds. Yet she still greeted Sarah every morning with the same enthusiasm she'd shown as a calf. The zoo established the Luna Memorial Foundation, supporting both captive elephant care and wild elephant conservation efforts. The foundation also funded research into elephant grief and emotional well-being, using the lessons learned from Hope's story to help other orphaned elephants. Sarah's role evolved as well. While maintaining her special bond with Hope, she began working with other institutions to share her experiences. She gave presentations at conferences, wrote articles for scientific journals, and helped develop new guidelines for keeper-elephant relationships that balance safety with the need for social bonding. Hope's artistic talents became legendary in the zoo world. Her paintings, now highly sophisticated compositions of color and movement, were auctioned to support conservation efforts. She seemed to understand that her art helped other elephants. She was always most productive just before the annual conservation fundraiser. The arrival of a third orphaned elephant, a 2-year-old named Keone, completed their unique family unit. Hope, now the matriarch of their small herd, showed natural leadership abilities, guiding and protecting her adopted sisters while maintaining her special relationship with Sarah. Visitors to the Riverside Zoo today can still see this remarkable family in action. Hope, now fully grown, still paints and plays music with Sarah. She's become an ambassador for her species, helping people understand the intelligence and emotional depth of these remarkable animals. The town has never quite gotten over its amazement at the bond between keeper and elephant. But what once left them speechless has become a source of pride and inspiration, a reminder that love knows no boundaries and that Hope, true to her name, can transform grief into something beautiful. During quiet evenings, after the visitors have gone home, Sarah sometimes sits near the elephant enclosure with her guitar. She plays that same lullaby from their first night together, and Hope still stops to listen, her ears forward, gently swaying to the familiar melody. In these moments, Sarah reflects on how a tragedy brought her an unexpected gift, not just her relationship with Hope, but the chance to show the world that the capacity for love and healing exists in all hearts, human and animal alike. Their story continues to inspire new generations of conservationists, animal care specialists, and ordinary people who believe in the power of compassion to bridge any divide. In the end, what began as a response to loss became a testimony to the resilience of the spirit and the boundless capacity of the heart to grow and heal. And in the peaceful Minnesota evenings, when the setting sun paints the sky in shades of purple and gold, visitors to the Riverside Zoo might still catch a glimpse of a remarkable sight. A keeper and an elephant, connected by years of trust and love, sharing a moment of quiet companionship that continues to leave everyone who witnesses it just a little bit speechless. 10 years after Luna's passing, Hope's story had transcended the boundaries of their small Minnesota town. The Riverside Zoo had become an internationally recognized center for elephant care and rehabilitation, with Hope's success story serving as a model for facilities worldwide. Dr. Emily Chun, who had been present on that fateful December morning, published a groundbreaking paper in the Journal of Zoological Medicine titled Emotional Support and Physical Care, a holistic approach to orphaned elephant rehabilitation. The paper detailed the innovative methods developed during Hope's early years, incorporating Sarah's intuitive approaches with traditional veterinary care. What made Hope's case revolutionary, Dr. Chun explained during a TED Talk that went viral, wasn't just that she survived, but how she thrived. The combination of consistent emotional support with scientific care created a template that's now helping orphaned elephants worldwide. The Riverside Zoo began hosting annual symposiums on elephant care, drawing experts from as far as Thailand and South Africa. Sarah, once a small mammal specialist, found herself teaching masterclasses on elephant behavior and emotional intelligence. Her curriculum, developed from years of observations and interactions with Hope, became required reading at several veterinary schools. Mike's photography of Hope's journey was compiled into a coffee table book titled Hope, An Elephant's Journey, with forewords by Jane Goodall and other prominent conservationists. The book's success led to a documentary series, which followed not only Hope's story but the stories of other elephants who had been helped using the Riverside method. As Hope matured into full adulthood, she displayed an unexpected talent for motherhood, not with her own calves yet, but as an auntie to newly arrived orphaned elephants. The zoo had expanded its elephant facilities to accommodate what they now called the Hope Haven Program, a specialized rehabilitation center for traumatized young elephants. Sarah watched with pride as Hope took each newcomer under her wing. She seemed to remember her own early days of loss and healing, showing remarkable patience with even the most traumatized calves. The way she would gentle her movements around smaller elephants, how she would stand guard during their first nights in the new environment. It all spoke to an emotional intelligence that continued to amaze even veteran elephant experts. One particularly touching case involved a 3-year-old elephant named Amara, rescued from a conflict zone in Africa. Amara arrived severely traumatized, refusing to eat and showing signs of extreme anxiety. While the care team worked tirelessly to help her, it was Hope who made the breakthrough. On Amara's 3rd night at the zoo, during a thunderstorm that had the young elephant in panic, Hope did something extraordinary. She began humming a deep, rhythmic rumble that Sarah recognized with astonishment as similar to the lullaby she used to sing. Hope had adapted the soothing rhythm she'd learned as a calf into something uniquely elephant, passing on the comfort she'd once received. In that moment, Sarah later wrote in her journal, I understood that we'd come full circle. Hope wasn't just surviving her own trauma. She was transforming it into healing for others. The success of the Hope Haven program led to several scientific breakthroughs in understanding elephant cognition and emotional processing. Researchers from major universities set up observation posts at the zoo, studying the complex social interactions between the elephants. One study, published in Nature, documented the sophisticated ways Hope communicated with new arrivals. Using advanced acoustic monitoring equipment, researchers discovered that she employed a specific range of infrasonic rumbles, sounds too low for human ears, when comforting distressed calves. These comfort rumbles, as they became known, had a measurable calming effect on their recipients. Another groundbreaking discovery came through Hope's continued interest in music. Researchers noted that she had developed a remarkable sense of rhythm, often swaying in perfect time to different musical pieces. More importantly, she seemed to use this rhythmic movement to help calm agitated newcomers, leading to new theories about the role of rhythm in elephant social bonding. Riverside itself had undergone a remarkable transformation over the decade. What had once been a typical small Midwestern town had become known as the Elephant's Town, attracting visitors from around the world. But the changes went far deeper than tourism. The local school system developed an innovative science curriculum centered on wildlife conservation and animal behavior. The Hope Scholarship was established, sending one graduating senior each year to study zoology or conservation biology. Several of these scholars returned to work at the zoo, creating a new generation of passionate animal care specialists. The town's architecture began reflecting its new identity. Buildings incorporated elephant-friendly design elements, with wide corridors and gentle slopes. The new library featured a children's wing shaped like an elephant's head, with windows for eyes that lit up at night. Local businesses adopted elephant-conscious practices, making Riverside one of the first towns in America to ban all products containing ivory or other elephant-derived materials. Sarah's life had changed in ways she could never have imagined on that cold December morning. Now in her mid-40s, she had become one of the world's leading authorities on elephant behavior and rehabilitation. Her work had earned her numerous awards, including the prestigious Global Conservation Medal. But it was the personal transformations that meant the most to her. Mike and Sarah had adopted 2 children, twins Emma and Ethan, who quite literally grew up alongside the elephants. The kids developed an extraordinary sensitivity to animals, with Emma showing particular promise as a future keeper. Marcus, who had nearly left the profession after Luna's death, found new purpose in mentoring young keepers. His gruff exterior had softened over the years, and he became known for telling stories about Luna to new staff members, keeping her memory alive while celebrating how her death had sparked such positive change. As Hope entered her 15th year, the zoo began preparing for a new chapter in her life. Their elephant breeding program, carefully planned and ethically managed, would soon give Hope the chance to become a mother herself. The entire town waited with anticipation, following regular updates on her potential pregnancy. Sarah found herself reflecting more often on that first night, singing lullabies in the dark to a grieving baby elephant. She couldn't have known then that she was part of something that would change not just her life, but the lives of countless others, human and elephant alike. During one quiet evening, as she watched Hope teaching a young orphan how to paint, Sarah noticed something remarkable about the pattern the older elephant was demonstrating. The sweeping trunk movements, the gentle touches to the canvas. They formed a circular pattern reminiscent of the way Sarah used to walk with Hope during those early nights of grief. She remembered, Sarah whispered to Mike, who was there documenting the moment. All this time, she's been painting our story. The impact of Hope's journey continued to ripple outward. Other zoos began developing similar programs, focusing on the emotional well-being of their animals alongside physical care. Conservation efforts worldwide benefited from the increased public awareness and empathy that Hope's story had sparked. But perhaps the most profound legacy was the simplest: the proof that love, patience, and understanding could bridge even the widest of gaps. Hope's story had shown that the capacity for healing and growth exists in all beings, and that sometimes the most powerful changes begin with a single act of compassion. As the sun set on another day at the Riverside Zoo, Sarah watched Hope leading her small herd, now including 5 rehabilitated elephants, in their evening rituals. The giant creatures moved with graceful coordination, their trunks intertwined in elephant expressions of family and trust. Among them walked the next generation of keepers, trained in the methods that Hope's journey had helped develop. And in the growing darkness, if visitors listened carefully, they might still hear the faint strains of a lullaby, no longer needed for comfort, but offered now in celebration of how far they'd come and the endless possibilities that lay ahead. The story of the zoo worker and the orphaned elephant had indeed left the whole town speechless, not just once, but again and again, as each new chapter unfolded. It served as a reminder that sometimes the most profound changes come not from grand gestures or careful plans, but from the simple decision to stay, to care, and to hope.